Welcome again to another episode of the Good Morning News podcast. Hey, Diego. Hey,
Hi,
Bear Hunter. How
Gelfi.
you guys doing?
Doing
My
good, man. How are
pleasure.
you?
Very good around
Good.
here.
Well, it's been a crazy week in the crypto markets. Markets are down.
We don't need to
Throughout,
talk about that, right? That's depressing. No one wants to hear
Once,
about prices,
once again,
man.
right?
but I do want to
Once
talk
again.
about. I do want to talk about the stories that we put it out there about Wonderland. But we can do that in the second half of this show. But the first half, I want to ask you, publisher, about your past and what made you, what drove you to found a decentralized news organization. There's a pretty good reason why, and I want to know if you
Yeah,
could tell us.
sure. So, I think we talked about this on a previous podcast, or at the very least, I've rambled on about this at some point in time. Ever since I first got into this space, I'd been, or at least since I had first started building in this space, I think would be a better way to put it. I'd been trying to find a way to integrate news, which is what I know and love, into this Web3 ecosystem in some way, right? Being able to deliver news on a blockchain seemed like something very interesting to me. And the reasons for that really were just, for the fact that our media industry here in the United States specifically, but I would imagine this is true around the world, are very, very prone to, I don't know if corruption is the right word, but just very beholden to advertisers, right? To anybody who pays the bills. Over the last decade, in my experience in this industry, I've seen journalists go from caring about the story to caring about the bottom line and ratings and viewers and ad revenue. These were not things that originally were in the original idea of what the news was supposed to be. If you
So
go back and
what you're saying is that sometimes they had to change the story a little bit or in favor of the sponsors. Is that what
so
you're saying?
I mean, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And this ranges, and there's a spectrum of this too, right? So from a local, just kind of micro perspective, right? From what I've seen it in my experience, you see, our local TV stations and our local news industries are very much reliant on ad revenue, right? So for them, everything revolves around advertising, right? So you could be cutting important stories out of that rundown for that day's news just to make sure that you have available time to run whatever advertisement has been paid for. And then, of course, you go to the far extreme of this to our mainstream media outlets that we have here in the United States, like CNN, MSNBC, Fox, right? The three main ones or the three big ones. And for them, it's completely different, right? For them, ad revenue does play a part, but for them, it's more of the political narrative, right? So you have, these have very much become the state sponsored television of our United States, right? In Russia, you've got the RT, which is considered to be Russian state television. But here in the United States, it's a little different, right? We have these three corporate media giants that are each spinning their own narrative and each spinning their own tales on what they think that narrative should be, depending on your political alignment, right?
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, the news industry has been broken for many, many years, and there's just been this cancer that's been growing inside of it, over these decades. And at this point, God, if we're being honest with ourselves, it's completely taken over. And it's become very, very difficult to separate fact from fiction, regardless of the news outlet that you're getting your information from.
And these news outlets, they kind of drive a lot of people. People really rely on those news outlets to make decisions, right?
Oh, especially the
Uh,
older generation, right? Anybody, I think, over the age of, I don't know, let's throw an arbitrary number out there. We'll say age of 50, right? They're not getting their news from the internet like us youngsters are. They're getting their news from the nightly news, from their 24-hour news stations. And that's what, in their little bubble that they live in, this is the information that they believe and that they know to be true. Um, and any
and
dissenting opinions, is met with
mhm.
fierce, almost hatred at this point.
And then how long you worked for a news organization in the past? You say 10 years? Is that
Over a
so?
decade, yeah, 12 years total. I've been in this
So over
industry.
the decade that you worked there, you saw that play many times over and over again, right? Like
Absolutely. And it got progressively worse over the years, right? It was already bad when I got there. It was already broken when I arrived.
Yeah, I would ask you that if your perspective changed while you were there. Because every time we start something, we are really excited about it. But when you started, you already feel like that?
Absolutely. You know, the news is one of those things you have to have a passion for to even consider going into it, right? Because it's hard work and it requires a level of dedication that a lot of people just simply don't have. So going into it, yeah, I was very doughy-eyed to use a term, use a figure of speech. So yeah, when I first got there, very passionate about the industry, very passionate about the first principles, right, of that industry, right, the first principles of journalism. And like we've discussed, over time, as those corporate advertising revenues begin to creep in, and as that becomes a priority more and more, the shine definitely wears off, and it wears off pretty quickly, I'll add.
And did you see more people around you, the people that worked with you there, having the same feeling, or they just did go with the boats?
I think so. Yeah.
Writers, editors, they all kind of have the same feeling, but they can't not really tell the truth, right? Otherwise they'll lose their jobs.
Right. Absolutely. For these people, this is how they pay their bills. This is how they keep the lights on. You guys have heard me say many times, no one gets rich in this industry or in the news industry, right? It's a very thankless job. So yeah, these journalists, these writers, these editors are living paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford to lose their jobs. Therefore, they can't afford to speak out against these institutions.
If they do so, they kind of they go after them, right?
They do. And because this industry is, it appears to be a large industry from an outsider's perspective, but on the inside, it's a very small industry. There are a handful of very big players. And if you get blacklisted by one of these media outlets, well, then you can kiss your journalism career goodbye. And you're on the path to independent journalism and never being employed and having a steady paycheck for the rest of your career.
Okay. So there was a point in your career that you decided to leave. You say, no, it's over. I can't do this anymore. I guess many of your colleagues also did the same. They also left. So when you left, what made you? What do you think? Why do you think this decentralized way is better than the old system? Why do you think what we're doing now is going to be better to the people, to the writers, than the old system?
So just from a bare bones technical standpoint of what separates us from these other media corporations. So I think you first need to understand the process that these news stories go through when they're running through the gauntlet at one of these places, right? The stories are written and drafted by the journalist, right? Your lowest on the totem pole kind of people at the organizations. Once that's done, then the story is then passed up through the gauntlet, right? Much like it is here at GMN. And the difference, though, is eventually it gets to a point where your higher up editors, right, the people at the top, your editor in chiefs or your executive editors, always have final say in the content that goes to air, right, or the content that goes to publication. Here at GMN, the difference here is there's none of that censoring going on. Whatever writer submits any writing to this organization gets published regardless of the content. The only thing our editors do is ensure that there's no spelling errors or grammatical errors in there. They just get it polished up for publication, but there's no censorship or heavy-handed editing that takes place. So it very much is directly from the journalist's mouth to publication without any intermediary in between, right? So that's one major difference, I think. And then, of course, you could go even deeper in that, and then you could get into the actual nuts and bolts of the protocol itself and how it actually rewards and pays writers directly, as opposed to having to pay everyone on the corporate ladder first, and then the writers who do all the hard work getting the pennies that are left over.
Yes, and censorship is not only on the on TV on news outlet; it's also on social media these days. You
Absolutely.
Post anything on Twitter or Facebook, whatever, there's always someone there that's going to censor you if you say something against their policy, whatever. So here I see that at GMN we're trying to change this narrative, right? We're trying to do something really different where people are really free to do whatever, not to do whatever they want, but to write whatever they want. And if the community wants that, then it gets posted.
Mm-hmm.
There's no censorship. There's no one that's gonna tell you to take it down, right?
Right.
So that's a very nice difference. Also, it's nice to tell our audience that we don't have any sponsorship who's gonna tell us what to do, right? So it's a good thing to remind everyone.
Very true. Yeah, we do not accept any ad revenue or anything along those lines. If you do see any sort of promotion in our publication, it's because the hardworking people at Good Morning News chose for that advertisement to be in there. One example would be like Purchase Comics, right? It's pretty much general consensus across the board that, yeah, everybody at Good Morning News is cool with that type of promotion being in the publication because, well, that gets into our partnership with Mr. Chippy, but it's just frankly a symbiotic relationship between the two, right? There's no one profiting off of each other. It's just simply more of a friend helping a friend out and vice versa, right? And I think that's the real ethos of Good Morning News.
Yes, and I think we talked that on the first episode, but it's nice to remind. Now you are really passionate about what you're really doing right now here at GMN, right? It's not like the old job. It's a new thing for you. It's a different feeling, and you're really like passionate about it, right?
Absolutely. At this point, I can't imagine myself doing anything else. We printed issue 80 last night. 80 issues, friends. That's pretty.
Yeah. That's
pretty
huge.
Incredible.
That's huge.
It's amazing. Yeah. And there's a lot of work behind that, right?
There really is.
I know there is.
It's a bit of a blur at this point, and I think everyone who works on this would agree. But yeah, honestly, I can't picture myself doing anything else. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing. I was talking today with a friend from Bankless DAO about our project here at Good Morning News, and it's unbelievable how everybody that I talk about it finds it's interesting, and everybody has curiosity to take a look deeper because it's revolutionary what we are doing here. And I always say thanks to Mr. Publisher because he created that. He had the idea. We are here. We are putting our energy because we believe in his vision for this.
Oh, thank you, my friend. That means more than I can put into words, Mr. Diego. Thank you, sir.
And your vision is actually the project here is actually a decentralized media news organization. Do you see any other industry that needs to be decentralized besides the media?
Boy, great question, right?
That's a tough one.
You could almost throw a dart at any industry and find a reason for decentralization being necessary for it, right? Now, how you would even possibly go about doing that's a whole different beast. But, just off the top of my head, I'd throw out things like healthcare, politics, right? These are kind of the obvious things that I think some decentralization could do wonders for. But again, how you would go about incorporating that, we'll leave that to people much smarter than me. I'm just a graphics guy.
Well, the deeper you go, the rabbit hole, more you find, right?
That's true. And then, of course, to that point, the deeper down the rabbit hole you go, decentralization can also take on different meanings, right? I know it certainly doesn't necessarily mean the same to me now as it did in the very beginning of this adventure. Yeah, and by that I think it's far more important at this point in my adventure.
What do you guys think that decentralization can do to the world? I mean, is it in your view, your guys' views, is it going to help the way the world, or is it going to make it better? What do you guys see in that perspective?
I have a not so popular opinion about that, but I believe that not everybody it's willing to be in charge of his property, of his rights. So I believe some people just don't care for that. It's easier to blame a politician that you supposedly voted him to decide for you. I don't think everybody around our space, yes, we care for that, but I don't believe everybody actually care for decentralization. Don't even has a glimpse of how important this is to have our power back.
I agree with that 100%, Mr. Diego. I think decentralization is one of those things where you don't realize how important it is until you need it, right? until you really need it. Yeah. A great example just off the top of my head is going to be the entire Robinhood fiasco, right? Anybody using that platform trading GameStop stocks last year, they didn't give a shit about decentralization going into it. I guarantee you they did afterwards, right?
Until they were unable to trade anymore, right?
Right, exactly.
And it was just like Vitalik did when, the glimpse that Vitalik had to create Ethereum, because he was playing video games, he was having fun, and suddenly the company, I believe it was Blizzard, and they changed something in the game. He didn't like it.
They took his sword away.
Something like that. Yeah. Who take a sword for a kid, right? Yeah. And just then he realized how important it is.
Yep.
But even though I believe some people, I mean, he took his voice out to do something about it, but I'm not sure if everybody will do the same.
And there's an argument to be made that it doesn't have that. Not every industry needs full decentralization, right? I'm of the camp that there definitely needs to be a spectrum there, because not everything. And I think Good Morning News is actually a really shining example of this, where we've taken the entire news writing process and decentralized that to the best of our abilities. But at the end of the day, to maintain journalistic integrity, right? To maintain the integrity of the organization as a whole, inevitably, you have to have some sort of, maybe not one person at the top, but certainly at least a core team at the top that at least has those principles in mind and are always ensuring that the organization adheres to those principles, right? In whatever fashion that might actually mean. And I guess my point here is that full decentralization, the way that the three of us know it today, is not always going to be possible for every industry, and nor should it even be necessary for every industry. Video games are a great example of this, right? NFT projects building video games. Do you need full decentralization for something like that? I don't think so. And then, of course, you've got all the people playing in the casinos over on Binance Smart Chain or over on Solana. Those people don't give a shit about decentralization, right? They're just there to gamble. So for them, it doesn't matter. Now, for somebody who's got $1 million or so staked in some lending protocol, to them, decentralization matters and security matters, right? So it's a spectrum. And I think those of us, especially us Ethereum maximalists, are very, very quick to judge. I think so. I consider myself one anyway. But I do think
we are a decentralization maximalist.
Yes,
right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
But on that note, right, I do think we are very, very quick to dismiss and really throw shade at some of these other projects. And we should be more careful of it, right? Because I suppose they are fulfilling some purpose, maybe not the purposes that we agree with, but they're fulfilling some purpose. At the very least, they're keeping the scams and all that bullshit off of the Ethereum network, and we can be grateful for that.
And I would say the same way some people don't care for decentralization. Some people are in this space just because they see crypto as an investment, as a way to make money.
Absolutely.
And I don't blame them. It's not a problem at all. I don't judge. But ultimately, some other people want more, So we have space for everybody.
Like publishers say, ultimately, decentralization is only important when you need it. So if you don't need it, you don't really care. But once you need it, once it gets to your toe, then okay, decentralization is now important. So it's just a matter of time when people really realize that decentralization is really important in the crypto world. Anyways, I think we can move. I think we can move forward to the next part of the show that we can talk about a little bit of our latest publications, which was about Wonderland. So, publisher, what happened there?
Boy, that was dramatic, wasn't it?
Let me ask you guys first. Do you guys use Wonderland?
Oh, that would require me bridging to Avalanche. I'm not going to do that. I'm very happy where I am. No, sir.
Okay.
But I have used many of the, I do use the Olympus protocol. And then, of course, the Olympus Pro is being used across the DAO ecosystem. Many of our favorite DAOs are utilizing that. So I'm familiar with the smart contracts and the protocol that we are talking about, but I've never actually used the Wonderland protocol myself.
On the other hand, I did use it.
Did you?
Didn't lose money though, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. It's just like, I don't know. It was a pretty dark moment for DeFi, and
I don't think it's over either. I think the repercussions of this are going to be echoing for months through this system. And that's just because of all the money Legos that have been stacked on this thing, right? So there's a real worry right now of certain stable coins losing their pegs, right? Because of all of this. And I think Luna did, if I'm not mistaken, right? Didn't Luna actually lose its peg?
Well, I don't know. Did it?
I believe so. I could be wrong, but I believe that was part of the whole thing. So
I think meme was also like in a danger territory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't play with these protocols. I'm pretty standard guy. I would say, I play easy.
You're just a hodler, you buy and hold. That's it. You don't like.
I play
like
easy. I do some swing trades with
like
small
leverage.
caps. No, it's not my vibe. But I understand who do that. But I always feel when something like that happens, it feels like we are taking a step back, and in our community here, because people get really frustrated and some of people just lose a lot of money and they just give up of DeFi. But this is not the kind of thing that happens every day. Not all protocols are like that. People should understand.
Publisher is a guy that knows how to code. So he's going to agree with me on this take. DeFi crypto was made so you don't have to trust anyone. When someone comes to you and say, "Oh, you can trust me. I'm gonna make this protocol. We're gonna make money together and all that," then you kind of have to ask yourself, "Is that so?" So crypto is a place where everything is written code and you have to just see the code. You don't have to trust people. It's a trustless environment, a permissionless environment, right? Do you want to add anything on that, publisher?
Yeah, I'll just say that, from the code's point of view, there was nothing wrong with the Wonderland smart contracts. Everything worked exactly as intended, right? The protocol's fine. To get into our story of what's actually happened over the past week, and what's gone wrong here is, turns out one of the founders is a really, really shady character. And then we found out the next day, turns out both founders are actually really, really shady characters. And you can't trust either of them.
Both of them were in a multi-sig, right? So, oh my God.
Yeah.
They have billions of dollars in control and people are just trusting them.
It's true. And to an extent, right? They were trusting the protocol. Now it turns out these guys actually had an exorbitant amount of control over the protocol itself. They still had control of the contracts, right? They hadn't renounced their ownership. So and we've actually got a lot of people doing their on-chain investigations now, going through their wallets, figuring out all the transactions that have been made. Coffee burps over the past few months. And I'm sure we're going to find some pretty nefarious things buried within those wallet transactions that they certainly were probably up to no good. And that is unfortunate, right? As you guys said, that is very much a black eye for the space. But at the same time, part of me kind of, this is going to sound terrible. Part of me was a little happy that this happened, right? Because look at how many ohm forks we've had over the past 6 months. I think we're up to like 70 ohm forks, right? And every one of them are have their own little Ponzi game going on. So I do think we were long overdue for a meltdown in this what was being called DeFi 2.0, right? And I'll tell you another thing I've noticed over just the past week really is we're starting to see the unwinding of a lot of these things through this little bear market that we find ourselves in right now. A lot of the cracks are beginning to show, and it's not just in these protocols. The cracks are beginning to show across the DAO ecosystem as well. I think we're stress testing right now is kind of my opinion of the entire industry, right? Things are hard. We're down 50%, if not more, off of all-time highs for a lot of these coins. And, we're finding out right now who's really here for the long run and who isn't.
Yeah.
Which of these protocols were here as cash grabs and which ones were actually trying to build something important.
Yeah, bear markets are times where builders build, right? Where people are gather and really look forward to improve, not just to make money. So yes, bear markets are necessary, are healthy, takes the speculators out, and it's a good. Do you have any good not advice, but good?
It feels bad, but it's good, right?
There's a silver lining there, and
it feels bad because I see a lot of people losing money. I see a lot of people are going to just go out. Okay, I don't want DeFi. It's not for me. Crypto is not for me. I lost money, but these people are just here for the money. We're just speculators, and we're still here. We're surviving. And we're here for the long run. That's what the most important, right? We need to survive this market and think long term.
What's the alternative? We're going to sell our crypto for that nasty fiat? I don't want that shit.
Exactly.
I got things to build here. I don't need that nasty paper money.
Yeah, Biden is saying that the crypto is now an emergency, right? Like it's a national emergency.
Yeah, I saw that. Sounds to me like more saber rattling. We're starting to get more news is beginning to come out of the Treasury Department as well. And they're considering revamping the idea of if you are trying to custody your stuff privately, that you may have to now go through KYC, to which I say, good luck enforcing that. I don't even know where you would begin on something like that, but okay.
I think they're pretty worried about not collecting taxes.
No, man. What they're worried about is people no longer caring about the dollar. That is the real fear of the United States, is that people will no longer, because right now everything that is traded globally is backed by the US dollar. Everything is traded and denominated in the US dollar. That's what the United States is afraid of. They do not want to lose that.
Yes, but unfortunately, they will.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Speaking as an American and knowing just the lengths that our government will go to, man, dude, I don't put anything past them. I really don't. If the United States government wants to end this little experiment, they can and they will. It's really that simple.
Do you think so?
Oh yeah.
Man, my personal view, I don't think that's possible, just because it's a global movement. Maybe you're right, but I don't see how.
Well, I mean, I could paint a couple bleak pictures if you want to end on a really dark note. You think about our military-industrial complex. You're fooling yourself if you think that our government doesn't have access to quantum computers right now. If they wanted to attack the Bitcoin network and bring the damn thing down, they could do it in a heartbeat. Yeah, I don't want to end. We have
that's too dark. We have to stop for here. We can't really talk about it because it's too dark.
But at the same time, the question has to be asked, would they do something like that? And at this point in time, I don't think they would, right? I think at this point in time, they don't see it as that much of a threat yet. if this space continues to go, or we all hope it goes, then they may, their tune may change. And at that point in time, we can burn that bridge when we get to it.
Well, yeah, as if they're crypto friendly, I think it's more beneficial than it's bad. I mean, people are still going to use dollars. People are still going to trade inside America. People are still going to live here if they're okay with crypto. But if they're going against it, I don't know. People are just going to go away, or they're not going to use dollars.
I mean, to that point, man, you really don't have to look any further than China, right? And exactly what they've done there.
Yeah, it just happened, right?
Yeah, I mean,
people migrate from there. Yeah, people migrate from there to start mining in the United States, for example.
Yeah, but if you're within those borders, good luck using this stuff, right? They have made it extremely difficult. They've got their whole iron wall of the internet going on, and their internet is not the same as our internet, my friends. They've got a whole different thing over there, and they're in full control over it. So, something like that, it's not far-fetched to think that something like that couldn't just as easily happen in the United States as well.
Oh man, that'll be bad.
It would be.
I'm sad really now. Bad. I'm sad now. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let's end it on a happy note. We got a community call to get to.
If it happened to America, if America really prohibits it, I don't know. People are just, whoever loves crypto, they're just gonna and they're millionaires, would say they're just gonna go away. That's my view. I don't know.
That's true.
I don't think they're gonna stay around. I don't think they're gonna stick around. If United States, we're not gonna allow crypto in here, but they're not China, right? They can't really. I don't know. I don't think they can forbid internet here. The way
absolutely
internet.
They could. Oh, they could, dude. Absolutely. You could easily put up a wall around our little internet here. Yeah. Matter of fact, you could make the point that it's already been done, but that gets into a whole different set of weeds, right?
Yeah, that gets it. Anyways, we're come to an end, actually.
Okay.
We come to an end, actually, because we have a community call to go. And I don't want to go any further on this subject. We can save some words for the next episode anyways. And I want Hero here for the next one so he can convince our audience to join GMN, right? Because it's his turn. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you very much for coming and record this podcast. And it's been just an amazing experience for me. Get to know new people every day and throw the word out. We want people to come to the industry anyway. So yes, thank you.
Thank you, my friend. This was fun.
Thank you, guys. Always like to be here.
All right. See you next time.
See ya.
Just a little disclaimer before I close this conversation. None of that we talked here was any financial or legal advice. So do your own research. Don't, invest in crypto if you don't know what you're doing. Please do your own research. Thank you.
Yeah, this is just for fun, right?
Yes.
Okay, friends. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
See you.